Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm going to preface this video immediately by stating that I waited on making this video to avoid being an algorithm whore and to not weigh in on a controversy that needed a little more examination before anybody commented on it. So as you know, I'm talking about the Shockanabi scandal. So to preface this, I need to tell you that I have experience working at an animal shelter with dog training, both large and small dogs, and working in a veterinary office, just to get that out of the way. So, the first thing that we need to address is if your dog is properly trained, there is no need for the use of a shock collar. Now, some people are going to sit here and, completely argue that this is not true, that there are dogs that just don't respond to training. That's not true. As with any conditioning training, using pain as a disincentive is the last thing you want to do. It's why we don't spank our children anymore. Well, most of us. Because pain does not work. It is temporary, and it often brings about an actual aggressive response. How do I know this? Okay, I'm going to preface this. Some of the animals that never leave animal shelters and are high on the kill list are large breed dogs that are poorly or untrained. Why? Because they're aggressive, they're violent, they don't know a regimented response to their actions. So, pulling on a pit bull's tail, you lose fingers, they bite your throat, they kill your infant. Now, in the case of these animals, I have seen shock collars used to mitigate violent behavior and aggressive behavior. Sometimes it's the last resort before putting these dogs down. But I have also seen these used for abuse. I have seen dogs with burn marks from shock collars. I have seen dogs whose whole aggressive response is related to the use of shock collars and pain response. To the point where we had a pit bull that was brought in that was hit by a car. Okay. The dog had a broken leg. The techs could not actually examine the dog because touching the pain points of the injury induced a violent response from the dog. And when we investigated, we found out that the dog had been routinely abused physically and most notably with a shock collar that was modified to use a higher voltage than what they were supposed to use. So the behavior that you're seeing out of Hassan, denying that he uses a collar, is a very jarring red flag. For people who have seen people who actually abuse animals, you have to question why he feels the need to lie this much about it. And the fact that this is a expensive purebred dog that he claims he had sent away to be trained. So if this dog had a regimented corrective training, regardless of what he says about his mom spoiling the dog, and I question that too, and I'll get to that in a minute. Regardless of what he says about the dog being spoiled, he's there all the time. If he was involved in the dog's training, he should be the center point of all discipline and all direction for the animal. So, regardless of whether or not his mom gives her food scraps under the table, or she lets her run around the house when he's not there, or she interrupts her sleep pattern, these are things that are easily corrected. And if Hassan is the main point of training for the dog, it doesn't matter who else interacts with the dog because the corrective measures and the actual training that was done with the dog is something that's in his hands. And to be clear, his mom isn't there all the time. She's there very unoften. He's there every day, 7 days a week, with the dog. What he does with the dog after he gets off stream, nobody can really know. Does he take her for walks? Does he train her? Does he spend quality time with the animal? You got to question those things and what happens off stream. But that's all conjecture because we can't see that or hear that or know exactly what the hell is going on with the dog. So, what do we see with the dog? Okay, this is a large breed dog. It's a purebred dog. It can't lay on hardwood floors because it causes joint pain and joint problems eventually as the dog gets larger and larger. He knew this getting the dog. He admitted it on stream. He wanted the dog because of its size. Literally, that's all the only reason he wanted the dog, because it's a showpiece for him. When he denies that he has a capitalist mindset, these are the same. This is like the Saudi princes that have pet tigers. It's the same mentality. Um, Large dogs, regardless of what people tell you, still need exercise. Because if they don't, yes, they do have joint deterioration. They tend to gain weight. They can't tend to get depressed. And if you actually look at Kyla's response while she's on stream, she rarely ever gets up. She always seems tired, depressed, unmotivated. She doesn't look like she's been exercised because exercised dogs act differently. Yes, they're not, hyperactive, but an exercised dog is alert. They're responsive. And he also doesn't seem to really physically interact with the dog much because the dog doesn't go to him for affection. It goes to strangers, most notably, for affection. When he has guests on his stream, which is very rare, or even when his brother is there, the dog goes to them for affection, not him. And for somebody who has worked in environments where you've seen abusers interact with their animals, the dogs are scared. The dogs go to other people for outlets of relief of fear or frustration or affection, and they're very standoffish with their owners. You kind of see that behavior with Kyla. It's hard to tell because she's always sleeping in the background, but I guarantee you, if you watch her interactions with Hassan, she exhibits many of those same behaviors. I'm not going to sit here and categorically say that he's an abuser. If anything, he's one of those people who should not have gotten a dog to begin with. If you can't dedicate a minimal amount of time a week to an animal for affection, training, interaction, just a general overall well-being of an animal, you should not have an animal, especially if you're going to get a purebred, ridiculously large dog. And this is the mistake that a lot of people make too. They treat their dogs like cats. And oddly enough, cats are not the way people think they are either. You can't just get a dog, train it for a couple of months, and then just, leave it alone. Animals don't function this way. And this is the mistake. People think that, dogs are just, bred to be people pleasers. Well, no, not really. Dogs are actually fundamentally not slaves. Yes, they do exhibit behaviors, but those behaviors are modified over centuries for them to be able to hang around an apex predator and benefit from it. They're not stupid. Dogs are not dumb. Cats are not dumb. Animals are not dumb. No, they're not humans. They don't rationalize and react to time the way people do, but they're not inherently stupid. If anything, dogs are faultily loyal to their masters. I've seen dogs that were with owners that burned them, beat them, cut them, used them as bait dogs, and they still went back to those owners for affection. I don't work in this field anymore because of me wanting to literally physically assault people for the things that they've done to their animals or allowed to be done to their animals. So the behaviors that Hassan exhibits should be called into question. Any man that's willing to lie to you about something this basic, because let's say I am actually hitting my animal with a wooden baseball bat with barbed wire on it. You see me strike the animal, and I wait 24 hours, I take the barbed wire off the bat, I wipe the blood off the bat, and I repaint the bat, and I come back the next day and I say, this is my discipline bat. Whenever I see my dog being bad, I just tap it on the head a little bit with the bat. When you actually saw me physically strike the animal with the bat. That's what Hassan did. And I don't know why. Why somebody feels compelled to lie like this. And the fact that he's willing to lie to you about something this minor, and yeah, I'm calling it minor because I've seen things a hell of a lot worse than just the use of a shock collar. If you're going to lie about something this minor, what goes on when the camera is off? And I'm not saying he's actually abusing his dog on the regular, but how does he treat people off camera? I mean, we've seen him snap at his mother repeatedly. He's very dismissive to people. He exhibits some behaviors that honestly are red flags. If you are a woman, I think you kind of see it. And maybe that explains his dating history and his being single. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and psychoanalyze him. This was all about the dog. I just want people to be aware of the behaviors that you should be looking for with people who are abusers. Not just of animals, because there's a correlation here. There are types of people that get dogs that want something to be subservient to them, that they can exert power over, that they can, yes, abuse. And it doesn't stop with the animal, it segues into other aspects of their life. The way they treat people, the way they treat women, the way they treat children. And you should be concerned to some degree by what you see right now. And again, I'm going to caveat this one more time for all of you. I am not saying he is an abuser. I'm not saying he beats his dog. But his willingness to subvert all of the training that he paid for this dog to get and immediately go to a shock collar. Sorry, you should be concerned.